What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Nah, what's up with it, y'all? Yeah, back with another one. You know, I forgot where I think it was Wild Man who had posted something on this, and I had to actually go and watch this guy's video. And like I talked about it on one of the lives, but I said I'm just going to do a small reaction video. I'm gonna just do a small reaction video to the video in order so you can see it yourself. But then I ain't gonna do too much of the video. You can go watch it yourself. I'm gonna post the link. I'm gonna post the link in order so you can go and see it for yourself. If I can get this going. Oh, okay, yeah. If I can actually get it right here. Okay, there we go. There we go. So yeah, so we just gonna kind of dive right in it. You feel me? And as we do, I'm gonna roll up something. But Myth and Reality by Joseph Campbell. You feel me? This was his interview with Bill Moyers. Like this was a good one too. I can't deny this was a good one. Let's just go on and just jump right in it. You feel me? This is on Follow Your Elation channel. You can go check it out on his channel. If you want, you can do like me. You can subscribe, help him get a couple subscribers in there. That'll be nice. And make sure you like this video. You might as well take your time out right now and hit the like button and get it over with before we even get into it all the way. Because we getting started right now. If you ain't subscribed, subscribe to the channel and make sure you get on Discord. So like when we having conversations, you can come in and you can join. You don't have to sit, in the chat and type what you got to say, especially if you got an experience or no matter what it is. Just come, be a part of everything. Like you can be a part of the channel by coming and just sharing your story. But let's get into this.
Well, my first answer would be, well, go on, live your life. It's a good life. You don't need this. I don't believe in being interested in subjects because they're said to be important and interesting. I believe in being...
And I say that all the time. I be saying that, like, that's when we put that thing, that's the thing, that we call God or whatever it might be. But that special thing is that thing that we put on everything. And you can label anything that thing. That's why I don't even want to call it God or the Creator, but at times I think I do in order so people will know what I'm talking about, because if I say that thing, they're not going to understand it, because that thing can be anything, because it is everything.
Caught by it somehow or other. But you may find that with a proper introduction, this subject will catch you. And so what can it do for you when it does catch you? These bits of information from ancient times, which have to do with the themes that have supported man's life, built civilizations, informed religions over the millennia, have to do with deep inner problems, inner mysteries, inner thresholds of passage. And if you don't know what the guide signs are along the way, you have to work it out yourself.
Yeah.
But once this catches you, there is always such a feeling from one or another of these traditions of information of a deep, rich, life-vivifying sort that you want to give it up.
I mean, that's from all of
Myths
them.
are stories of the search by men and women through the ages for meaning, for significance, to make life signify, to touch the eternal, to understand the mysterious, to find out who we are.
People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that the life experiences that we have on the purely physical plane will have resonances within that are those of our own innermost being and reality.
The individual.
And, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive.
Yeah.
That's what it's all finally about, and that's what these clues help us to find within ourselves.
Myths or clues?
Yeah, myths. And it goes, it's not just myths. It's poems, it's stories, it's music, it's movies. All these things are like gems. They got gems hidden in them, telling you about life, what life is about, whether it's good or bad.
Myths are clues to the spiritual potentialities of the human life.
What we're capable of knowing within
Yes.
and experiencing within.
Yes.
I liked your you changed the definition of a myth
everything
from the search
starts
for
within.
meaning to the experience of meaning.
The experience.
The experience of life.
The experience of life. The mind has to do with meaning. In here, what's the meaning of a flower?
I think Exile said that, like, what's the meaning of a flower? And you'll, like, people will really try to explain it. They'll try to explain it. It just is.
It's a Zen story of the sermon of the Buddha when his whole company was gathered and he simply lifted a flower. And there was only one man, Kashyapa, who gave him a sign with his eye that he understood what was said. What's the meaning of the universe? What's the meaning of a flea? It's just there. That's it. And your own meaning is that you're there. Then we are so engaged in doing things to achieve purposes of outer value that we forget that the inner value, the rapture that is associated with being alive is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Now, we want to think about God. God is a thought. God is a name. God is an idea. But its reference is to something that transcends all thinking.
And you can't tell people that. You can't tell people that. Like, people get kind of belligerent when you say that God is an idea. Because you're the one who conjuring up that idea. Even if it was given to you by somebody else, you still was the one to accept it and say, okay, yeah, that thing is God. And you really just can't really say that to people. That's why I said I don't believe in the human's God no more. At all, I don't.
Okay. The ultimate mystery of being is beyond all categories of thought. My friend Heinrich Zimmer of years ago used to say, the best things can't be told because they transcend thought.
Yeah.
The second best are misunderstood because those are the thoughts that are supposed to refer to that which can't be thought about, you know?
And I think when I say, like, when I take mushrooms or do DMT and I try to go past the human thought, the human way of looking things. I'm trying to transcend that and go beyond that, because the only way we can look at things and judge things is as a human. But can you step outside of that, which I have stepped outside of that human being of seeing things. You step outside of that and you see it more clearly.
Get stuck with the thoughts.
Yeah,
the third best are what we talk about, you see. And a myth is that field of reference, metaphors referring to what is absolutely transcendent.
What can't be known.
What can't be known.
Or can't be named.
Yes.
Except in our own feeble attempt to clothe it in language.
Yeah.
And the ultimate word in our language for that which is transcendent is God.
God. That's the... And it goes beyond
remember
that. It's
what went
way
through your
beyond
mind
that.
the first time you saw Michelangelo's creation?
By the time I became aware of that, my notion of divinity was not quite so personal, you know. The idea of God, that he's a bearded old man of some kind with certain not very pleasant temperament.
Limited.
That is, I would say, a sort of materialistic way of talking about the transcendent.
Yeah.
There's just the opposite of it. And, on an island in the harbor of Bombay from around the 8th century.
It's crazy because we try. That's what we do. We materialize everything, bro. And we what I say, we make it matter, make it into matter, and we make it into some type of matter.
This is a wonderful cave. You enter the cave from a bright sky. Of course, moving into the darkness, your eyes are blanked out. But if you just keep walking slowly, gradually the eyes adjust, and this enormous thing, it's about 19 feet high and 19 feet across. The central head is the mask of eternity.
I seen that thing right there one time off mushrooms. And it had 3 heads, like one going out that way, one going out that way, and one going out that way. I forgot what happened.
This is the mask of God.
Mask of eternity.
That is the metaphor through which eternity is to be experienced as a radiance.
And these other 2 figures?
Whenever one moves out of the transcendent, one comes into a field of opposites. These 2 pairs of opposites come forth as male and female from the 2 sides. One has eaten of the tree of the knowledge, not only of good and evil, but of male and female, of right and wrong, of this and that, of light and dark. Everything in the field of time is dual, past.
The yin and the yang, and that's what I be saying. You can't have one without the other. They both make each other exist.
The future, dead and alive, all this, being and non-being, isn't.
And what's the significance of them being beside the mask of God, the mask of eternity? What is this sculpture saying to us?
The mask represents the middle, and the 2 represent the 2 opposites. And they always come in pairs. And put your mind in the middle.
Yeah.
Most of us put our minds on the side of the good against what we think of as evil.
It'd be funny because I be saying this. I say, we got 2 suitcases. We got one on the left, one on the right. Everything on the right is good. We put all the good stuff in there. Everything on the left, we put all the bad stuff in there. Even the people that we think going to hell and all that, we put on that side. But everything is actually just one thing. That's us splitting them up as we go.
It was Heraclitus, I think, who said, for God, all things are good and right and just, but for man, some things are right and others are not.
Yeah.
You're in the field of time when you're man. And one of the problems of life is to live in the realization of both terms. That's to say, I know the center, and I know that good and evil are simply temporal apparitions.
Well, are some myths more or less true than others?
They just temporary?
They're true in different senses, do you see? Here's a whole mythology based on the insight that transcends duality. Ours is a mythology that's based on the insight of duality. And so our religion tends to be ethical in its accent. Sin and atonement, right and wrong.
Oh, wow.
Started with a sin, you see.
Yeah.
In other words, moving out of the mythological zone, the Garden of Paradise, where there is no time.
He said.
And where men and women don't even know that they're different from each other.
They don't even know, they just beings.
Just creatures. And God and man are practically the same. He walks in the cool of the evening in the garden where we are.
But it's like, it's wild, bro, because it makes sense. It's telling the story how we transcended the what we was before. And, it's like I don't even know how to explain it, bro. That's trippy.
And then they eat the apple, the knowledge of the pairs of opposites. And man and woman then cover their shame. They're different.
Cover themselves.
God and man, they're different. Man in nature is against man.
Yeah.
I once heard a wonderful lecture by Daisetsu Suzuki. You remember this wonderful old Zen philosopher who was over here? He was in his 90s.
Man.
He started a lecture in Switzerland, and I heard in Ascona. He stood up with his hands on the side and he said, God against man, man against God, man against nature, nature against man, nature against God, God against nature. Very funny religion. Now, in other mythologies, one puts oneself in accord with the world.
Very funny religion.
If the world is a mixture of good and evil, you do not put yourself in accord with it. You identify with the good and you fight against the evil. And this is a religious system which belongs to the Near East following Zarathustra's time. It's in the biblical tradition all the way in Christianity and Islam as well. This business of not being with nature, and we speak with sort of derogation of the nature religions.
You feel me? Oh, yeah. Golly, bruh. That is trippy. That is trippy because really when you make it think about it, dang. That's trippy, man. It's a lot.
You see, with that fall in the garden, nature was regarded as corrupt. There's a myth for you that corrupts the whole world for us.
Man.
And every spontaneous act is sinful.
Yeah. It's sinful because we think we've fallen. We think we did. We already got an idea of what we think we are. So everything that we do stems from that one root that was rooted into us. The stems grew out from that root. You feel me? But we never cut that root and planted another tree or something.
Because nature is corrupt and has to be corrected, must not be yielded to. You get a totally different civilization, a totally different way of living, according to your myth as to whether nature is fallen or whether nature is itself a manifestation of divinity. And that stems from your parents, where you was raised at. You know, in the beginning of your life, you was taught about God. You know, if you was over there in China, you was talking, or wherever, I don't know, over there, you was taught about Buddha. Or over here, you was taught about Jesus Christ. But it was every region had its own God that it believed in, that it taught the youngins as they came into the world. And that's why once they planted that seed and the roots grew, they grew from that seed right there. It didn't grow from the seeds of what we would call nature. It grew from the seed of man planting the seed. Spirit being the revelation of the divinity that's inherent in nature.
Don't you think that Americans, modern Americans, have rejected this idea, this Indian idea, this ancient idea of nature as revealing the divinity, because it would have kept us from achieving dominance over nature?
Yeah, but that's the biblical condemnation of nature that they inherited from their own religion and brought with them. God is not in nature. God is separate from nature, and nature is not God. And this distinction between God and the world is not be found in basic Hinduism or Buddhism either.
Yeah, it's like we got our own interpretation stemming from the Bible.
I'll never forget the experience I had when I was in Japan.
Wow.
To be in a place that never heard of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
To be in a place that never heard of the fall of the Garden of Eden. They probably live totally differently, look at things differently, act differently. It's totally probably the total opposite of here.
In a place where I can read in one of the Shinto texts, the processes of nature cannot be evil. When every impulse, every natural impulse.
And it's wild because people talk about nature and they be like, yeah, we need nature, man, nature, bro. But nature is tough. Nature is tough. We in nature. This is nature. None of this is not natural. That's why it's happening. That's why it grew this way. Because it's natural. It's nature. All of it. To me, all of it is nature. And it's like, how is that? Oh, look at it. Look at it. This is what it is right now. And this is what it grew to. You feel me? This is it growing.
Is not to be corrected. but to be sublimated, to be beautified. And the glorious interest in the beauty of nature and cooperation with nature and coordination, so that in some of those gardens you don't know where nature begins and art ends.
Yeah.
This to me was a tremendous experience, and it's another mythology.
Speaking of different mythologies, let's just have a little fun here. I took these from your atlas.
Yes?
I'll read Genesis. I'll read from Genesis, and then you identify and read from the corresponding text.
Yes.
Genesis 1. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply.
Now this is from a legend of the Basari people of West Africa.
The Basari
Unumbote made a human being. Its name was man. Unumbote next made an antelope named antelope. Unumbote made a snake named snake. And Unumbote said to them, the earth has not yet been pounded. You must pound the ground smooth where you are sitting. Unumbote gave them seeds of all kinds and said, go plant these.
And Genesis.
The stories are not that different. It's just that part right there, that second part that he read, dude can go read in the Bible also. It's like all these stories, man, it's the same story, because all these stories are stemming from one rooted story. And all of them adapted from that one rooted story that started who knows how far.
Is one. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good.
And from the Upanishad, then he realized,
The Upanishad.
I indeed am this creation, for I have poured it forth from myself. In that way he became this creation, and verily, he who knows this becomes in this creation a creator.
And I can't do that. Hey, I can't do nothing but laugh and smile too, because it's like, dang, bro. When he created this, he knew he was the creation. It knew it was the creation, whatever that thing is. It knew it was this. And the ones that know that it is this understands this is what it is.
That's the clincher there.
Yeah.
When you know this, then you've identified with the creative principle yourself, which is the God power in the world, which means in you. It's beautiful.
Means the you.
What do you think we're looking for when we subscribe to one of these theories of creation, one of these stories of creation? What are we looking for?
Well, I think what we're looking for is a way of experiencing the world in which we are living that will open to us the transcendent, that informs it, and at the same time informs ourselves within it. That's what people want. That's what the soul asks for.
You mean we're looking for some accord with the mystery that informs all things, that what you call that vast ground of silence, which we all share?
Yes, but not only to find it, but to find it actually in our environment, in our world, to recognize it, to have some kind of instruction that will enable us to see the divine presence.
In every, like to turn it on, to be able to see that thing, that divine thing existing. It's like, we want to see that, but we are, like, when you're it's kind of hard to see it. You see it, but you see it every day. When you look in the mirror, anything you look at, you seeing the divine presence. This is the divine presence.
In the world and in us.
And in India, this wonderful Anjali, this greeting, you know what that means?
No.
That's the greeting of prayer, isn't it? That's what we use for prayer. They greet you with that. That's greeting the God that's in you as you come in. These people are aware of the divine presence.
And that's why I always do that, like on a lot of the comments, greeting that divine God within everybody in the world, the ones that when you see this.
When you enter an Indian home as a guest, you are a visiting deity, and you feel it by God, the way they treat you.
And that right there tripped me out right there, because when they started even building temples, they built temples in order for God to reside in. And a lot of the priests, and different things of that nature resided in those places that were built and made for God. And it's like, wow, because like when you even take it down and you look at us living in houses and different things of that nature, our houses is built for us, the God within, for us to reside in. And it's just trippy.
It's something in the way of a hospitality that you don't get where you have simply one person and another person. It's a recognition of the identity.
But weren't people who told these stories and believed them and acted on them asking far more simple questions, you know, who made the world? How was the world made? Why was the world made? Aren't these the questions that these creation stories are trying to address?
No. It's through that answer that they see that the Creator is present in the whole world.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? This story that we've just read, I see that I am this creation, says the God. When you see that God says he is the creation and then you are a creature, well, the God is within you and the man you're talking to also.
And we always say that, like, we a fractal of the Creator. You feel me? We the spirit of the Creator. Like, we got so many different names for it, but it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing, because that thing is in us, in everybody, good or bad.
So there's that realization, two aspects of the one divinity.
Accord again, harmony again.
Wonderful thing.
Let me ask you some questions about these common features in these stories, the significance of the forbidden fruit.
Well, there's a standard folk tale motif called the one forbidden thing. Remember in Bluebeard, don't open that closet, you know? And then one always does it. And in the Old Testament story, God gives the one forbidden thing, and he knows very well. Now I'm interpreting God. He knows very well that man's going to eat the forbidden fruit. But it's by doing that that man becomes the initiator of his own life. Life really begins with that.
Man becomes the initiator of his own life, to where he starts running his own life. I think that's when we, whatever that was, that is when we kind of, what you would say, woke up. And see, you know, we woke up out of one illusion into another.
Find in some of these early stories the human tendency to find someone to blame. Let me read Genesis 1, then I'll ask you to read one from the Basara legend.
Right.
Genesis 1, and God said, have you eaten from the tree which I commanded you that you should not eat? Then the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the woman, what is this you've done? And the woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. I mean, you talk about buck passing, it starts very early. And then there's the Basara legend.
It's been tough on serpents, too. One day, Snake said, we too should eat these fruits. Why must we go hungry? Antelope said, but we don't know anything about this fruit. Then man and his wife took some of the fruit and ate it. Unumbate came down from the sky and asked, who ate the fruit? They answered, we did. Unumbate asked, who told you that you could eat that fruit? They replied, Snake did. It's the same story.
It's the same story, but like, to me, like a lot of these stories, they just sound like campfire tales, like, you know, because somebody had to have a story on, you know, how we was created, where we came from, and like I said, it started from the oldest story, and it just kind of trickled itself down all the way to everywhere, because everywhere started from one place. You feel me? Whether it was Africa or wherever, it started from one place, and then it kind of did like tree roots and grew out to different places and different ways of explaining it or saying the same story.
What do you make of this, that in all of these stories, the principal actors are pointing to someone else as the initiator of the fall?
Yeah, but it turns out to be Snake. And Snake in both of these stories is the symbol of life throwing off the past and continuing to live.
Why?
The power of life, because the snake sheds its skin, just as the moon sheds its shadow.
Yeah.
The snake in most cultures is positive.
And that's wild because it makes you think about life. When life is constantly shedding itself, it's constantly creation is constantly dying, and new things are coming into play. Even when we don't want new things to come into play because we think it's going to destroy us or it's going to do this or it's going to do that, it don't matter. It's still going to do that. It's going to shed the old and it's going to be in with the new, constantly kind of bettering itself, growing itself, constantly growing. And man, it's deep.
Even the most poisonous thing in India, the cobra, is a sacred animal. And the serpent, the Naga, the serpent king, Nagaraja, is the next thing to the Buddha. Because the serpent represents the power of life in the field of time to throw off death. And the Buddha represents the power of life in the field of eternity to be eternally alive.
Wow. The cobra.
Now, I saw a fantastic thing of a Burmese priestess, a snake priestess, who had to bring rain to her people by calling a king cobra from his den and kissing him 3 times on the nose. There was the cobra, the giver of life, the giver of rain, which is of life, as a divine, positive, not negative figure.
The Christian stories turned it around because the serpent was the seducer.
Well, what that amounts to is a refusal to affirm life. Life is evil in this view. Every natural impulse is sinful unless you've been baptized or circumcised in this tradition that we've inherited, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah,
By
that's crazy.
having been the tempter. Women have paid a great price because in mythology, some of this mythology, they are the ones who led to the downfall.
Of course they did. I mean, they represent life. Man doesn't enter life except by woman. And so it is woman who brings us into the world of polarities and a pair of opposites and suffering and all. But I think it's a really childish attitude to say no to life with all its pain, you know? To say this is something that should not have been. Schopenhauer, in one of his marvelous chapters, I think it's in The World's One Idea, says, life is something that should not have been. It is, in its very essence and character, a terrible thing to consider. This business of living by killing and eating. I mean, it's in sin in terms of all ethical judgments all the time.
As Zorba says, trouble? Life is trouble.
That's it.
Only death is no trouble.
And when people say to me, do you have optimism about the world, how terrible it is? I said, yes, just say, it's great.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
And it's wild because when you say that, people don't get it. They kind of get mad at you. Like, all this going on, how you going to say this place is great? And it's like, it just is. I don't know how to explain it. And I can't show it to you. But you can see it in the times that you smiling that this place is great with its ups and downs and its different ways. It's just because it is what it is, but it's beautiful at the same time. The beautiful, ugly. And I'm gonna stop it right there. You can go and check this out on follow your Elation channel. You feel me? Myth and Reality, Joseph Campbell. Like there's a couple of other videos that I seen on it too, but I guess I just decided to use this one. And thank y'all for stopping by, and let me know in the comments what you think about this, and even if you go watch it, you feel me, comment so I can see where you coming from and what you feel about what this guy is saying, because he gets in there deep. And y'all have a good day. Peace out.